Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Farhat Asif, and I am founder president of Institute of Peace and Diplomatic Studies. This is another great episode of the Diplomatic Insight, Global Woman Insight. I am again with one of the amazing women from the region, from Indonesia, Miss Ruby Khalifa, who is also the Secretary General of AMAN. AMAN is a network of Asian Muslim network. We'll talk a lot about her own work, her own, drive to be the way Ruby is today, and what is the motivation behind all the amazing work that she is doing. One of the important thing, ladies and gentlemen, today is that exactly 25 years ago, Ruby will also share that exactly 25 years ago today, women across the world gathered in Beijing, and at that forum, they gathered and they decided that from this day onwards, women rights are human rights and human rights are women rights. So from there onwards, the message moved across the world, and we gathered together to finally made United Nations 1325 possible, the convention. So welcome, Ruby. Thank you so much for joining us. Ruby is also an amazing leader from Indonesia. We'll be asking her a lot of questions. If you have questions for Ruby, then do share your question as well. First of all, Ruby, how did this all begin? How the journey of togetherness, community building, and working for women all began? Who is Ruby Khalifa?
That is a big question. Let me greet everyone. Hello, everyone. Assalamualaikum. It's very my honor and pleasure to be a guest of our sister Farhat. We've been known through online consultation. Amazing work how we connect each other. And okay, I think my mom is one of the big inspiration for me since I was a child. My mom always, kind of talking all the time, every day, giving me like a magic word, saying that as a woman, you have to be independent. Economically, socially, whatever you want to be women, you have to be independent. Because with that, actually, you can make your own decision. And with that, you can help your family a lot. So I think that magic word really brought me into a certain level why I love working with women groups and specifically in the field of women empowerment. I dedicated my life and my time, my energy, my thoughts to really want helping women across, the globe, and specifically in Indonesia, we have very diverse women coming from different religions, different ethnics, different culture, because we are archipelago. So that actually why I am so much in love with this work. And with that, I've been active in a movement, student movement, and that allowed me to actually expose more about feminism, about women rights and democracy, and some other discourse, as well as linking me to the work of where non-government organization exists, and I am very much enjoying, including I am reaching out regional work because I think I need to really listening other women's stories and connect each other.
Mhm, mhm. That's wonderful, Ruby. Amazing thing about women is that they're often consider their strength. Do
Mhm.
not consider their strength as strength, right? So
Yeah.
you must have come across with a lot of women around you who had
Mhm.
remained your inspiration, who has remained your strength. But there are
Mhm.
women. along with women, there are men in your life as well who
Yeah,
had played, must have played a tremendous role in making you as Ruby, right? In making
exactly.
you understanding humanity. So, who are those inspirational figures, including men and women, as you said,
Yeah,
mom, which is our always remain as our first
always
love,
women are here.
always your first love. So
Yes.
who are the people who had remained inspired to you and made you think different about women and their role in the
Mhm.
society?
Yeah. I think before I met my husband, I met several men whom finally to be, currently our partners in promoting gender equality in the perspective of Islam. So I met I think one of the big ulama called Hussein Muhammad, coming from Cirebon. He's very, I mean, in term of the way he's thinking about gender equality is amazing. Not leaving the text, but actually digging down into what actually Islam mentioned about gender equality. So the approach that he call, how do you call it? Is they call it post traditional approach, but
Yeah,
using more gender lens in reading the text. That is bring me a lot of a question, and also learning a lot from him in the beginning, that he resisted with the idea that was impossible. It's happened in
correct.
Islam is like that already. And then, but I think his openness and willing to also learn about human rights, about democracy, and about women rights, in particularly the
Yeah,
sexual reproductive rights and health, that actually brought him into very high level right now, as the one of the prominent ulama, can give you very strong justification that gender equality is within Islam. That
yeah,
actually bring me a lot of confidence working in
yeah,
that field, including Fakihuddin Abdul Qadir Jailan, Fakihuddin Abdul Qadir. That actually brought a lot of new approach in the narrative of gender
yeah,
equality. That actually allow me to think right now, helping more exchange program with the new approach on gender equality, not always using that term, but
yeah,
allowing us to actually invent other term. I'm borrowing from Fakihuddin. Mubadalah is reciprocity. That finally really break through when we did dialogue with the Salafi group in southern Thailand. It was amazing, and it was impressed for me that Salafi group can talk with us together, talking about gender equality.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, these amazing men who this create critical thinking and understanding of dimensions that we do often shy away from. Sometimes these men and women always are treasures in our lives.
Mm,
So
yeah.
Ruby, while you're working, while you are moving forward, and you begin from your education to advocacy and your
Mhm,
activism, so, what are the most challenging times when you enter from your, you were young, you were fierce, you are, brave, to move ahead and understanding and building relationships, especially when you are coming um from a place where which is called as, center of Islam, including
mm,
Pakistan, right? So,
yeah.
it represents your own. So, and especially while you are sharing that you're also been understanding Islam and how the feminism, or how enriched Islam is about
Mhm,
women and people, and their, it's very prominent important role played. Um,
yeah.
what are the challenges that you face through your time period in that, when you are, moving, becoming a leader, or challenges ahead of those times? And how did you manage to resolve all those challenges?
Mhm. Yeah, I think as a young person, we had our idealism and a
Exactly.
lot of expectation coming from the family. Even I think even okay, just recently my mother understand that what I'm doing. What my mother always said to our neighbors is actually, I am a trainer and I work for the women. That's it. And it's very difficult for my mom to understand that I am working for non-government organization. That kind of work is not in my mom vocabulary. So
Yeah.
but I always inform to my mom that I love working with the people. I want to be myself, useful for our community. And I think if we empower women, we can empower the family and also the
Exactly.
entire of the community. So with
Exactly.
that, actually, I think the biggest challenge at that time, as I was born in the village, right? And I moved to Jakarta, is a big city, and
Yeah.
and that what my neighbor said to me, that actually brought me broken heart little bit, when they said that I am not a good woman, I am too
Yeah.
far from the family. And
Yeah.
and I was really, like upset about this all prejudice against me as the young
Yeah.
person who would like to reach a certain level. I want to learn more, and at the same time, I want to bring my dream come true. And I think this my privilege if I can, be present in in front of the women coming from different cultures and religion in Indonesia, from Aceh to Papua. You will be very proud and see how amazing Indonesian women, and they
Yeah.
making a lot of contribution to the
Yeah.
life. And that is still a big challenge actually for some of the women, perhaps if they want to step more into advocacy work. Aside that, you have to deal with the
With
government,
the-
yes,
Yes.
but changing time. I think the Reformasi 1998 brought Indonesia is much better in terms of democracy and allowing civic space for civil society engage in the decision making process. Before that, it was too difficult for us.
Yeah.
Specifically, we were always targeted by the state when we make it a bit noisy about about it. It's too small of, it's like we didn't have much the civic space when we want to criticize the state, and then
Yeah.
criminalization of some of the feminists or even
Yeah.
the activists. And I think when we enter reformasi era, that actually created a lot of spaces for us, but we're still facing a lot of challenges right now with the growing of intolerance and fundamentalism in Indonesia. That another step of challenge that I am facing
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, exactly. And women always play significant role. They are the role model, not only role models. I don't exactly say that only role models, but they are the power of change in the countries they're living in.
Mhm.
Ruby, one of the important things that you are currently heading is AMAN.
Yeah.
Aman is Asian Muslim Action Network,
Mhm.
which is phenomenal organization. Do tell us about that organization and how that organization function. Why it is important to have Asian Muslim Action Network, and you're
Mhm.
currently the Secretary General of Aman in Indonesia.
Yes. So this network is unique in terms of the shape. It's not like a traditional organization. This network is really connected because people love to be connected. And a lot of volunteerism actually run this organization. And when it started in 1990, so I'm actually the maybe the third or the fifth generation of this organization. It was meant to be a network where a Muslim actually across Asia can actually learn each other. they can meet each other because the practice of Islam in each country are different. However, we are Muslim. We need to be connected and understand why we are different. Only if we meet each other, we know that our practice of Islam are different. I mean, the
Yes,
interpretation. There are a lot of school of thoughts in
yes,
among Muslims, right? And Indonesia, perhaps one of the country where for me it's quite progressive because the government actually provides space for a different interpretation. You can have a very conservative interpretation here, but at the same time you can have progressive interpretation that people also can access, all the reference and learn each other. So having Aman, we want to really open up a more dialogue among Muslim as well as Muslim with the non-Muslim. We have a regular a capacity building among young people coming from interfaith organization and communities in Bangkok. So we teach them about the conflict transformation, gender equality, as well as understanding diversities within a Muslim as well as outside the Muslim community. In Indonesia is a big specific because the country embraced democracy and has a lot of spaces for exercise. Then our program in Indonesia is much more emphasized on the women peace and security. In particular, we are interested to bring and disseminate the progressive Islamic interpretation when it comes to gender, and then share throughout our network, including the international network. We want people also get access that within Islamic tradition, there are a lot of scholars, the classical and modern scholars, that actually believe on gender equality. Our our rule is just to find out the reverence and learning from other scholar to understand on using the methodology which is women friendly. So then our so then the interpretation of the text that actually talking about the role of women can be more nice, no? It's not misogynic. It's more like
yes,
empower because
yes,
Islam actually reveal because
yes,
we want to change, the situation, and we have to believe on that. That therefore in Indonesia, if you believe that Islam is revolutionary, then you have to believe that Islam respect women rights. If that
yes.
impossible that we are exist until now because a big space inside Islam itself, we need to find out.
Exactly, exactly. And as you're sharing about Aman's important
Mhm.
role in connecting countries, and especially from different, uh, what you say, sects within Islam,
Yes,
divisions. Yeah, exactly. Divisions in
yes.
Islam, interpretation of Quranic verses,
Mhm.
having different versions, looking at one verse in different way, one verse
Mhm.
the other way, but building the understanding or finding a common path of
Mhm.
knowing that this will bring peace amongst us, right? So Aman
Yes,
is building that kind of relationship amongst Muslims, and
yes,
especially when across the world, there's a lot of what you say. There are always good people. There are always bad people.
yeah,
There's always
yes.
the building of an image of Islam, which is not what the image really
Mhm.
is about Islam.
Mhm. Mhm.
It is
Mhm.
the most expressive religion across the world. It is most bringing people together. It's always is a nature. It's just and gives women the more rights than any other. I must say.
Mhm.
Um, what
Yes.
about various engagement of a man with the young people or young women or men who might be listening to us? You can also share what are the initiative in you have taken in
Mhm.
Amman
Mhm.
for the young people and young women. who are
Mm.
energetic, who want to understand, who have all the adrenalines running in their bodies, who want to do something. So, what are
Yes.
the latest that
So
Aman has taken?
every year we have a regular training for the youth about peace building. That's actually one of, but it's interfaith. We actually meant to promote interfaith program because we're realizing that many youth they may not have opportunity or have more exposure with other youth coming from different religion or even different sect, because our society is very segregated, and many people feeling more comfortable if they are living with the neighbor, sharing same values or same how do you call it, same school of thoughts perhaps. and,
Yes,
and we,
yes.
we, we likely like reject when we listen to people having very different opinion about particularly value in Islam. And with that, actually, not only just teaching about peace building and how youth can, a bridging communication between youth and the older generation, but at the same time during the training, that actually the most valuable moment where they can interact each other and started understand about the culture that they are carrying on, and from that actually they have more opportunity to learn informally, if in the class is much more in that. But other thing, we supporting the initiative run by youth, a small grant that we support for youth, and then we also helping for a scholarship for the children's of the poor family to continue their education. And in Indonesia context, we also have scholarship in particularly for the young people coming from the conflict zone, so that they can continue the work. The other work that we are doing is currently, aside we are facilitating exchange between women ulama in Indonesia and with the other countries. We want actually other countries understand the development in Indonesia. In 2017, we were able to join with other organizations in hosting the first Indonesia Women Ulama Congress. The
Wow.
Congress attended by 700 more ulama, women ulama coming from Aceh province to Papua, is a long island, and they are gathered to strengthen again the commitment and the existence in Indonesia, that women ulama contributing a lot to the development of the country. And now they people need to hear that women ulama also has the rights to do interpretation, and then
Yes.
by understanding, by really listening the voices coming from the survivor of the gender-based violence, and then combining with the Islamic text as well as the regulation that exists in Indonesia, and also international instruments. So we cover almost working at the grassroots level with the Women's School for Peace. Currently, 39 villages we are working in Indonesia, as well as we are also doing advocacy relating with the policy, because the space is there, and I think we need to use it to intervene the decision making process in the government.
Wow, this is such an amazing work, and many of the comments that are coming that they are unaware of such an amazing work. But I have invited Ruby. If you have any question about Oman, you can write it down, and we can ask about the conversation. Ruby, one of the important acknowledgement that you
Mm-mm.
had and you received is apart from many others that you received is N Peace Award in
Yes.
2016, which I'm alumna of in 2018. So
Yes.
what was that award
Congratulations
about?
on you.
Yes, we both are alumna of
Yes.
N Peace. If
We have
Nashida is,
commonality. Yeah?
if Nashida people from N Peace are listening,
Oh,
look at this. There is
we should
every
inform Rashida.
Here we are meeting two NPC award winners. So, what was that, Ruby? What was that experience?
Oh, that's okay. That was amazing for me. I mean, I never expected the work that I'm doing. Of course, I'm not doing alone. It is always in a team, and I am very much proud with my team. But I think the end piece is part of the way other people recognize the work of the women peace builders like us. Without
Yes,
recognition in some condition, perhaps our energy may go down. We feel like we always how do you call it? We always face the wall, and too difficult. Sometimes it's
yes,
stressful, but end peace is actually provide kind of space for the women peace builders to open the door and talk to other people around the world that hey,
yes,
we are doing something. We know that
yes,
sometimes it's stressful. We know that it is too difficult to change at the macro level, but
sir,
at the small scale, change is very possible, and the woman has a lot of power to create a change. And if we actually believe on that, and we work closely with them, we open their eyes, and then we give our heart, and the women can actually work more effectively, because if they have a confidence, they have a leadership, and they know the path where they need to do change, and they will
sir,
do it. And a
yeah,
person like us, it's like we just create a little window, and finally the women at the grassroots level, they continuing the change
absolutely,
sustainably. Maybe when we leave the village, they are still continuing struggle, and I
sir,
think the struggle is very different before they're meeting us and after they're meeting us. And I think the appreciation from MPs should continue, and then
yeah,
looking for more and more women that actually hidden, maybe never told their story about the
yeah,
change, or even too shy to share,
yeah.
their work, and that is very much meaningful for me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And when you have been recognized, you've been acknowledged, or there's a little pat in the back, is enough
Mm,
for us, famous women, to move ahead and do our work. And a little pat in the back is enough for us. It's not but
mhm,
much of the what you say.
mhm, mhm,
The
mhm,
important award that you had won is about the BBC's recognition of your outstanding contribution when they
mhm,
listed you as 100, influential women. What was
mhm.
that all about as well?
Yeah, this is another appreciation and recognition. I think that every year BBC launch the women that actually make, I mean, big influence at the, I think, I believe, at the national level. And that's surprised, because I think the nomination is not like NPs. It's really exclusively done by BBC, and then when it's time, they just launch the name, and then you can find your friends' faces there, for example, or
Yeah,
maybe many new faces that you never met before, and that actually started to Google the name and then understand, oh, amazing, these people is actually working in the same field with me. And I think when what BBC did for me, that's give a lot of impact, and specifically people started to recognize more, in particularly the media, because I think is I think the nomination may be coming from the media, and the coverage of the media, because it was the time that I did a lot of advocacy at the national level, and then I led a group, a coalition that actually demanding the new government, the new president at that time, 2014, that really bring the agenda of women, and we managed very much. And then we did a lot of advocacy until it is adopted into the strategic document of the president, and they highlighted a lot of issue relating with the women agenda in Indonesia.
Okay, wonderful. Another one was 100 Women of Salt magazine as well. So this was another feather in your crown. You know, these acknowledgements, especially as you were saying, media's recognition of power of women, their recognition of their work. Similarly, Ruby, as I have started this Global Women Inside,
Hmm.
providing women, putting the spotlight on the women, talking with them, inspiring people who might be listening, who are around us. You know, this is this media of utilizing effectively media. So 100 Women of Salt magazine is another feather in your crown. So what was that also about? It's similar to BBC or
Yeah,
different?
I think it's similar with the BBC, but a bit different people enter in that. But this is really exclusively what they thought it is the women influence. But when I recall the time when some media recognized my work, that the critical time when Indonesia in the transition politically, because in 2014 and enter 2015, we did a lot of work at the national level together, of course, with the other women organization across Indonesia, and a lot of coverage media at that time. Therefore, I think Salt magazine also catch up some of the work that we did at the national level, because the period very close with the BBC launched the 100 women.
Another important, significant contribution of yours is that you are a prolific writer. You also wrote several books as well. For instance, The Hidden Pearls of Heroic Stories of Women Peace Builders, which was also published by the UNDP Jakarta. What was
Yeah.
this stories and conversation? So this is all about Indonesian women or across the world that you know.
No, this
Yeah.
is specific for local mediators, local women mediators. Actually, we have a lot of women, at the grassroots level, did
Mhm.
amazing work, and I respect them a lot. For example, one of women in the story that I wrote is actually the women who always be reverenced for the people in her village and the neighboring area. When clash happen, for example, they always call these women, and then the genuine role as a mediator is exists, and did a lot of contribution to the work of peace building. Unfortunately, when it comes to the formal peace negotiation, those women just gone. They are not one of the
Yes.
the leader who actually can sit in the formal negotiation, right? And we had a twice the peace talk. Aceh were one of the example where actually many amazing women just neglected from the process. But we were
Yes.
lucky
Yes.
that we still have one woman as advisor from the freedom movement group to advise about the law in Indonesia and some of the progress in Indonesia. Unfortunately, we did not have representation of the women that actually can give a lot of contribution, in particularly dealing with the how do you call it, the impact of the conflict and how women been traumatized, and the
Yes.
number of gender-based, the victim of gender-based violence, as well as the future agenda that need to tackle women agenda, including we're talking about the healing and rehabilitation for some of the the people affected directly with the conflict. Unfortunately, we did not have the women, but we had three women joining with the Malino Peace Talk to resolve conflict in the Central Sulawesi, where I'm working closely there. And the women there, but still we lacking of the women agenda in the peace accord. So see, we have a lot of women on the ground. They did a
Yes.
lot of work, but again, in the formal process, we always lost their voices. And the stories
Yes.
that I wrote is actually capturing how the women mediators contributing to peace reconciliation as well as resolution in their community.
Wow, this is such a tremendous contribution, especially when women often do their work, they forget
Mhm.
the work, and we are there to support them, to document them, to help them
Yeah.
to be heard across not only in the communities but all
Mhm.
across the government level and various international regional level as well.
Yes.
So your
Yes.
another book is about injustice and gap inequality, which is of course published by one of the
Mhm.
publishers in Jakarta. What
Mhm.
was this about? A long road to post 2015 sustainable development. This is another
Yeah.
of your
Yeah.
contribution.
Yes. This is a part of the global movement. 2013, we were busy with the post 2015 agenda, and then we actually did a lot of publication as the reflection relating with inequality in Indonesia, including gender inequality, and also about injustice, in particularly when we are dealing with, for example, the minority groups, the marginalized group. We are still having, a big obstacle, in particularly for those people who are in the structure that not able to understand our constitution, and they are keeping using their personal opinion against the minority. If they use constitution, it should be everything okay. Unfortunately, some people not using that, and that is our policy maker. So this book is actually highlighted some of the homework for Indonesia when we enter SDGs. Then we when with the principle of no one left behind, are we
Yes.
going to really taking care seriously some groups
Yes.
who have been experienced injustice and inequality so far in this country? In particularly, the people who belong to, for example, Shia group, Ahmadi group, a Christian group,
Yes.
or even the LGBT group that's often actually receive discrimination or even attacked physically. So that is actually reminding our government that we have a long list of the homework. That hopefully by using the framework of SDGs, we hope that no one left behind is really come true.
Yes, yes. This is phenomenal. Again, the contribution. And one more is your one more subject of the book is about the future of Asian feminism, which is again an important contribution from your side. Because you know, Ruby, while we are discussing about these books or contributions, especially this one,
Mhm,
the
mhm,
future of Asian feminism, um,
mhm,
this Asian, often people compare Asian or South and North comparative
mhm,
analysis are
mhm,
also
mhm,
done.
mhm,
People say, okay, North is enlightened, they know everything, something like that, or they are,
mhm,
or the South is not that much, moving forward in feminism, in understanding women. And there are a lot of challenges that we face because of
mhm,
our There are a lot of developing countries in South with their
Mhm.
scores, there are a number of challenges. So
Yeah.
a lot of differences that has been created is because of this not understanding exactly what is the future of Asian feminism. So what this
Mhm.
book
Mhm.
offered for those students, especially myself, who want to understand about Asian feminism, why it is important, and this book is important.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very lucky. I was invited by Saskia Wieringa, one of the professor from Netherlands. She approached me after my presentation of my thesis, talking about sexuality in the context of Muslim community, and I did ethnographic study to understand how single women, the young women, actually describe about sexuality, describe about their body, and the struggle between the understanding, their feeling, as well as the text that actually they are learning at the same time is creating a lot of confusion among the young people. But at the same time, you will see that the resistance and negotiation is all the time happening. It is not like the black and white our life. When you understand, when your teacher, for example, give you the tafsir of interpretation on over the text, then you will processing in your mind, and then you will reflect that whether in your experience it is
Exactly.
different or it is contradictory, and then it's come up with some of the resistance. And I am recalling that a lot of resistance is because the text that been taught in the Islamic boarding school was very, very conservative, that was out of the date and not contextual anymore with the young people. And then it's too
Yeah.
difficult for young people if they just relying on the text. So therefore the contextualization is need to be there, and they covering it under as Asia feminism, because a lot of studies are done by different authors, also
Yes.
capturing how Asia actually resists and negotiating with the culture, with the religion, and with the other belief, and then come up with their own identity. And that is
Exactly.
the very strong message coming from the book. And I am one of the contributor of the book.
Oh wow, this is amazing. I think that many of the people who are currently listening to us, viewing us, and hearing us, you can ask question to Ruby as well, and you can also see that how activism can be translated into academic contributions, and of course, you can constructively, consistently contribute in your national narrative of feminism or whatever the drive that you face or believe in. You can
Mm,
constantly do it. Another book that you have also written is about contesting discourse on
yes.
sexuality and sexual
That's what
subjectivity.
coming from my
Because,
thesis.
yeah, exactly, this is your thesis as well.
Yes.
And this has also been translated, and especially when you talk about role of women in Muslim societies. So,
Mhm,
Ruby, what do you think that currently role of women in Muslim societies is transforming? Is it
mhm,
a similar way it was 20 years ago? Because we are also today celebrating 25 years and 20 years of UN 1325 and
yes.
Beijing Convention and
Yes.
declaration. So where role of women in Islamic countries is there? Is it changing? Is it transforming? It is static? Where do you think it is there?
It's very difficult question actually, and very big. But let me
Yes,
start like this. I'm very positive a person. I understand that some of the changes happening, the transformation is happening. For example, I give you one example, small example in Indonesia. So when democratic space present in our life, and then you will see that one of the big dynamic in within the the work in the gender and Islam is also pushing into that dynamic, and they are finding a way and space actually to make the work is more visible, more new narrative that people can accept, and but at the same time also facing a lot of different and maybe more difficult challenges. Okay, one of the very progress in the context of Indonesia, when we started talking about gender in Islam in 1980s, it was like underground, right?
Yes.
People did a lot
Yeah.
of training. People did a
Mm.
lot of work, but underground, because during dictatorship regime at that time, we did not have much, a space to speak or even to spread our messages. But then when enter Reformasi 1998, we have a lot of space, and then that is actually bring that all the hidden things, like come up. You will see like the like euphoria, yeah, the people that
Yes.
have a progressive side, they have a lot of space, but at the same
Yeah.
time the people that actually in the conservative side, they also gaining a lot of space as well. That is
Yes.
actually a big challenge for us, is contesting each other, and that is the importance of the role of the political party came to play. If they are actually occupied by conservative, and they are very easy to use a lot of interpretation that is very conservative and attacking the women and leaders and other things. But when you see the political party, they are occupied by the nice guy, for example, they are allowing a lot of space. And in
Yeah.
Indonesia, the contestation until now is still very strong. What the
Yes.
danger is with our democratic space right now is actually the conservative one, the fundamentalist group actually able to form the political party. And some of them, through a very long intervention hiddenly, they are actually already enter in the structure, some of them. That make actually scary in the one side, but the other side, you will see that the women ulama, the people who are very progressive, able to consolidate their power, and then we
Yeah.
come together under KUPI, Indonesian Women Ulama Congress. And with that, their voice is much, much more bigger. So then they have a like a balance of power. So when you asking me how we are transforming until now, one side we are moving into the direction that we expanding our agenda on the
Right.
gender equality, and we make it
Right.
more available, all the reference relating with the gender in Islam. But in
Yeah.
the one side, I think our progress right now is being threatened by fundamentalism or even extremism in
Yeah.
many countries. This is very sad. And this is
Yeah.
the, I think, one of the biggest challenge currently and crisis, I think, that we are facing as a Muslim. I believe
Yeah.
Pakistan also
Of course.
experience like this. Indonesia, though our government secular and we believe in Pancasila state and
Yeah.
democratic state, however, we are still facing that many people believe on Islamic state, and then we
Yeah.
have to tackle this as
Yeah.
well. So you see that how different
Honestly,
our
yes.
our our enemy now.
And of course, sometimes it do happen that you take one step or four step ahead, and then you take two step back. It's like
Yes,
that. In
yes,
a very nutshell. Sometimes
yes,
this happens. This frustrates as well. But
yes,
I have seen your entire journey as a resilient. You are not afraid of moving ahead, progressing, and of course building the network and bringing along the young people, old people, women, and groups along. And your agency is such a dynamic that and your wisdom is phenomenal. Another important Ruby, another important initiative that you are I was a small part as well, is that the recent conversation about UN conversation on women's role in conflict transformation, and the one
Mhm.
we were connected together. So what was that, and its finding, and what is the hope there? You can also share about that.
Mhm, mhm. Connecting with global is very important for the feminists, for every feminist. We don't think that it is our own problem, that's, that we
Yeah,
deal day to day, every day, in our life. You also
yeah,
have to realizing that other women coming from different contexts, they are also struggle. And our
yeah,
big force is the people. We don't have a structure, right? As a civil society, what we have is actually we believe in the human rights, we believe women rights, and then
yeah,
we have a people. We have a
yeah.
people connecting, across the globe and
Exactly.
believing in the one value that
Yeah,
women rights is human rights, and it's need
yeah,
to be implemented in for our government. And the UN global consultation is really want to check and recheck how actually all the global instrument been implementing at the national level, because
exactly.
the context is different. For example, conflict and non-conflict area totally different. The democratic and non-democratic country causing a lot of different, a flavor of how actually we work, and also the different problem day to day. And with the global consultation, you kind of like mirror. I'm reading
Yes,
carefully, every single argument that each participant putting in the consultation room, including your sister. I'm
yeah,
reading carefully, and I can understand and how difficult your situation, currently, in particularly the people living in the border area, the
yeah,
Kashmiri people and other
yeah,
other women. I can still say that Alhamdulillah I am living in Indonesia, but doesn't mean that it is finished. I have to
exactly.
help other women, right? How we can
Yeah,
help? We can create conversation like this in order to inspire other women, but at the same
exactly.
time, we can also do exchange. I
Yeah,
think distance doesn't matter at all right now. What we need
yeah,
to do is to believe that do not focus to only problem. We have to
yes,
believe that we have solution, and the women always have a creative and innovative solution. And
exactly.
your program like this is
Yes,
exactly that what I mean by exchange. We need to
yeah,
do exchange. If in your country it is still stronger to promote gender equality in the perspective of Islam, for example, you can look at what is the secret in Indonesia, why we are successful, why we have a lot of women and men right now actually joining with our advocacy and on supporting all the work relating with the gender equality using Islamic interpretation. So with this kind of conversation, that actually we offering not only hope for our sisters and brothers coming from different contexts that you are struggle, but at the same time, let's connect each other, because the world that we are living right now is a sharing word, and with that actually we need also helping each other. And my mission by having and joining with Asian Muslim Action Network is actually creating any possibility for us, to have exchange, because we don't know in which hand that actually, you know the solution coming from. But if you're looking at our context and your context is different, you can easily actually to modify the any solution that we have. Of course, I'm not saying that you have to adopt 100% what we have in Indonesia, or I can learn from from Pakistan and from other country. The contextualization is always need to be there, but the forum like this is very, very meaningful for everyone, and we need to have more and more so that many people can feel not lonely. I am
Yeah.
very much want to hear your voice as well as you can hear my voice, and let's exchange the solution.
Yeah, brilliant, Ruby, for sharing this. This is the essence of global woman insight as well. When I was lonely in COVID-19, I thought, why not outreach to a woman sister from across the world and talk to her and listen to her. What are her challenges? So this has transformed into something amazing, and you are here as my guest. So, what has COVID-19 has given you as a challenge? Is it okay? We could not meet, we could not hug, we could not go traveling. But what has COVID-19 has given the challenge for you as well, and for women across, and how can we come out of
Hmm. Yeah, you're right that we are currently have to spend our time, entire time in
it?
our home. But I think the technology helping a lot, right? And then that for me it's like it's too late. Why we are just realizing that we can connect each other through the technology without waiting that COVID actually spreading. That is too
Yes,
late. But I think it's a big lesson for us. And also, we started to connect our women in the different villages, teaching them actually how to use this kind of media, and helping them how to literate with zooming and any kind of the platform, online platform that we can actually meet each other, and continuing the work that's not always using physical, touching and present. But I think the technology helping very much, including during the
yeah,
COVID-19. Our work is getting more and more because in our context, for example, Indonesia government already adopted the presidential instruction on gender mainstreaming in 2000, and the president pushed this a document to be adopted into different contexts under ministries. So meaning that gender mainstreaming is one of the big agenda in Indonesia. So COVID-19 came, and then our intuitive is whether our policy will be very much gender sensitive or not. That is the first intuitive that every woman, I mean, activist had. And then that we allowing us to gather into task force. Now, I think around 167 organizations joining, and then monitoring the policy as well as the implementation of the program related with the COVID-19 response that running by the government, including ensuring that the women inclusion in the process need to be there, not only just individual women, including the organization. We want our government again to remember that we already committed with the gender mainstreaming, and we want this visibly implemented, and ensuring that all the response is really gender sensitive. So challenge is actually how can we use this situation is more productive and
yes,
not disconnect with the world. So
yeah.
making this still connected, and then providing a lot of exchange spaces, I think it can help us a lot to survive during pandemic. I believe on that.
Yes, exactly. And Ruby, a lot of people have been sending you a lot of love, and they're saying that you're such an amazing lady. One question that Mr. Fahim has asked is about Women's School for Peace in Poso.
Mhm.
Was there any woman school in
Yes,
Poso? And
yes.
he's asking that if this can be replicated in the Western society, as well as a
Mhm.
gap between Muslim women and others as well. Is this is a small question? I thought
Yes,
audience are listening to us patiently, so
yeah,
why not add one question from them as well?
sure.
So it's about
So the
school
idea,
in
yeah,
Poso.
yes, the idea of the Women's School for Peace as the incubator for leadership. You remember affirmative action, right? We
Yes.
believe that if we raising together men and women without
Yes.
affirmative action, the women may lose, right? So
Yes.
the women's
Yes.
school for peace is actually a way for Aman to help the women to understand themselves and strengthen their leadership before they actually jumping into the community, and they can contribute to the development in the community. So the women's school is actually not only for Muslim. It is required to be Muslim and non-Muslim. Why? We need to provide space for our community for them to really exchange their views and get experience with diverse people. Because if
Yes.
we, because Indonesia is diverse, we are not only Muslim. There are many other coming from a different religion, and the women's school able to actually provide space for everyone to be comfortable with when they are sharing the stories, and then they are starting to helping the community. Let me tell you one big change that we created together with the women there is after the conflict in 19 end of 1999, and then they signed the peace agreement in 2002. When we enter 2010, it is already how many years later, but situation is
Yes.
still that Muslim and non-Muslim, they are not interacting each other. They
Yes.
still having prejudice because the conflict
Yes.
was actually triggered by religious religious misconception on that, and then they are fighting each other. So
Yes.
one of the women leader initiated, and then after the school running, they are using the abandoned land in that community, and then they started to grow the vegetables, and then that started the people actually interested to joining. And now I think the land is more and more that they're using to grow vegetable, not only for the women, but men and children also engage in the process. What is the lesson
Yeah.
of this is actually the transformation that we're making. It is impossible without the concrete medium, and the concrete
Yes.
medium that we created, it need to be there, it need to be familiar for everyone in the community. And if everyone familiar with the land and with organic farming, let's do it, because that can be very effective medium for transformation. So that is one of the example of the women's school for peace. And then that the interaction will be improved, and on people will interact, and they can build the community together, and work together for sustaining peace in that area. Thank you for the question.
Wow. Yes, that was a brilliant example that you have set in terms of this initiative where there's a concrete step towards understanding and developing the togetherness.
Mhm.
Ruby, while we are almost ending our conversation,
Oh,
there's one
really?
lesson, one story. It's like time
It's
is
fast.
now flying away. We don't know where it went. There's always, in anyone's life there's always a story, there's always a lesson or something very important that you think you can share with our audience, with our young people, that they will remember forever in their lives, especially with your journey and immense knowledge that you carry along. There must be a wisdom, or there must be a lesson that you can share with everyone around today.
Okay, I just want to share one of the secret that I think you have to remember. My work with the women, it is not just my passion, but it is a strategy. When you work with the women, you actually work with the entire family, and then later on, you will actually work with the entire the community. Why? Because the women that actually the pillar of change in the family and the community. When the women moving, and I, you have to remember that, and it is the 10, 13 years lesson. When the women
Yeah.
empower, they are moving. The husband feeling curious about that. and started the husband actually questioning and learning, and on the husband gradually transformed because they trusted the wife, and the
Yeah.
children's also starting more confident because
Yeah.
having mom that actually been informed with a lot of updates information and can be very nice friends and to
Yeah.
communicate, and more confident, the family more equal, more sharing homework, more sharing housework inside the family, and you can see them family more healthy. When that is happening, you will see that gradually the community is also getting more awareness why
Yeah.
women need to be selected as strategy, because the narrative of life is in the women. The
Yes.
women always holding the narrative of life, because the life is started in the women body,
Body.
and
Yes.
it's
Oh.
never been forgotten by the women. When you pick up the women, you actually pick up the most marginalized group in the society. When you started working with the women, your mind has become more sensitive in looking at other marginalized group, whether this is
Absolutely.
youth or maybe other sect, or that is need to be included in the process. Again, you will gain a lot of legitimacy, because a lot of actors that actually helping you more and more in the program. In the end, your program will be more sustainable because it is supported by a lot of groups in your community.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ruby, for such a wonderful message. I mean, I cannot say anything more for the after this message, because that's what we always project, that please include women in the conversation, include women in the leadership positions, include women in your entrepreneurial journeys, include women as CEOs in your companies, include
Exactly.
women, give them rights. When you give them rights, they will not let you be rightless or anybody who is marginalized, but they strengthen you, as Ruby is doing amazing work across, not only in Indonesia but across the region as well. As a and also remember that it's not about Muslim or non-Muslim, it's all about humanity. It's about understanding the gender and how you carry forward. So thank you so much, Ruby Khalifa. This was my friend from Indonesia. Was
Thank you so
very
much, sister.
understanding realities. And if you have many questions, you can reach out to her Facebook. You can reach out to her Facebook profile, her page, and you can learn more about Aman and Aman's work in the region as well. And if you do not understand, you can reach out to the organization and send them letters. And of course, this way. And I've seen, Ruby, interesting part of our conversation is that 90% of our conversation and comments were from men. So this is
Oh,
something
really?
amazing. So this
Thank
was
you so much
amazing.
for watching
Thank
this.
you
Yes.
so much, everybody who have remained our part, who are sending love for my friend Ruby Khalifa, who is from Indonesia, Jakarta, and it is almost in the night in Jakarta. Thank you so much,
Yes.
everybody, or people from friends who are listening from Jakarta. Thank you so much, and we'll be coming back again in another amazing conversation with another great lady from across the world. I'll be bringing forward a lot of women so that we can, as Ruby was saying, in exchanging and understanding about how women are facing the challenges and how they are resolving their, these challenges. Thank you so much, Ruby, for your time,
Thank you so
your
much, sister. This
presence.
is
Thank
very
you
great
so much.
program. I love it.
Oh
Thank you
yes,
so much.
you love it. Oh, I really love people to you listen to my friends who are across the world making change, and of course building communities and helping as mothers, as daughters, as anybody who are there in the community. Thank you so much, everybody. Good night and see you
Thank you.
soon. Thank you so much.
Assalamualaikum.